I'm going to talk about the book Renesmee from El Perez. I think it's a fan fiction book because the author, Stephanie Meyer, she doesn't say anything about this book. So, okay, first of all, her parents, Bella, Swan, and Edward Cullen. They get their hair in the end of the break, breaking down part two. First, there was a complications about her pregnancy because the baby Renesmee grew up very fast, more than the human baby. Also, the other thing was like the vultures, they were very upset with them because they thought that Bella was converted in vampire and then give birth Renesmee, but it wasn't like that. Bella was a human and then had Renesmee. Also, they thought that Renesmee will be a immortal child. They thought that they the Cullens can control her. Also, that they thought also that Renesmee is going to have um, human blood, but it wasn't like that. So Alice shows Arrow the future of Renesmee. Also shows the future of all the clan of Arrow if they start a fight with the Collins. So the the Vultures return to Italy and the Collins can live in peace. But in this book, they show us Renesmee that she's growing up and she's in college. They show us uh, her tall, her her fights, um, her tears also, because in the first part of the book they say that Jacob has to travel. They don't say where or when he's going to come back, and that's like Renesmee feels very sad because she doesn't know. She didn't. He didn't tell anything to her. Um, One day she was returning from school and they hear like her parents and her uncles, her aunts, including her grandparents, talk in secret because the aunt Alice they say, but he can do that to her. What gonna happen if she finds out or something like that? And she was like, when they're talking about why they didn't say anything to me, and they were say like, okay, let's give Jacob the benefit of the doubt. Let's wait until he comes to the house and talk with Renesmee. But nothing happens there. So then Renesmee one day went to school in the car of his uncle Emmett in a beautiful red car. So the popular girls were standing next to the car and say that Renesmee was cheating Jacob with this guy, his uncle. Uh, Renesmee has a best friend. She's named Lisa. She's also a vampire. She's a Chinese vampire. And Lisa hear that about the girls one day, and she wanna fight with them. But Renesmee is like, okay, don't make such a big noise. I don't care what they say. And Lisa said, but they're talking about that you are cheating Jacob. And that's when Renesmee get upset. So she goes to confront them, but there was a guy that was with these popular girls and say, but what are you talking about? We saw you with other guys, so we want to take your boyfriend. And they start mocking him, yelling him, making fun of her. So Renesmee hit this guy in the nose with his her fist, and the guy was screaming, yelling. Uh, he was crying because they he hurt a lot. Um, then they found out they found out that Jake was in back in town, but he wasn't Colin's house. He was at his house in the bush because if you know Jake Jacob is a werewolf. So she goes to see them. She talked to him. They kind of argue something a little bit because he didn't answer the messages or the phone calls or anything like that. Of if he answered is like 1 or 2 times per week. Even also, um, then uh, there's a new guy in the school, and this guy, his name is Blake. He's he seemed very interested in Renesmee, but Renesmee is like only focusing in her school, in her assignment, and in Jacob because they have a Jacob printed Renesmee, and what is printed is like love at first sight. You want to do everything for this person even though it hurts you, but you want her happiness. That's why Jacob didn't print it at Bella at first. Well, he thought that, but then when Renesmee born, they immediately get printed to her. So also Renesmee to Jacob. So when this guy Blake came, she was very divided because he feel a strong connection with Jacob, but also he feel like her future for saying like that he was with this guy Blake, but she see him like a friend, only that. When the time passed, there was a other guy in front of the forest, and she was looking for Renesmee. This was like um, Lisa's brother. Start arguing with Renesmee, start yelling her because for her fault he have to go to other country. So Alice see the top of her knees, and Alice, Renesmee, Emmett, Jasper, their uncles, the other aunt Rosalie, her parents and her grandparents go to see there and start a fight with this. Actually, Edward started a fight with this guy, broke his arm, and here his his sister Lisa start apologize with them. So um, because she thought that they won't do nothing, they won't happen anything, but it wasn't like that. Actually, is this part is like the half of the book because all that happened is like she was in high school, she went to school, she do her homework, very specific. But this part in front, they start talking about the sister, about Blake with Renesmee and her friend Lisa. That's all.